I say it's not what happens to you, it's what you do about it.
The situation, did you have opinion on the political situation at the time? Who were you fighting and why were they terrorists?
You have to be able to see both sides. You have to be able to see the Palestinian side and you have to be able to see the Israeli side.
Do you ever feel regret or doing it when you were younger?
Yeah, unbuckled.
Unbuckled discussion.
Unbuckled discussion.
This is Unbuckled Discussions.
Unbuckled discussions. Unbuckled discussions.
Unbuckled Discussions. Welcome to Unbuckled Discussions. Before your career began, you were in the army, I believe, right?
Yeah. So we got drafted to the army. It was compulsory, so it wasn't. I went there as a choice.
Was it compulsory for all South Africans?
Compulsory for all male, white South Africans that were of a certain age.
Oh, okay. So where did you go during your time in the army?
So I was drafted into the Navy, and then I got drafted into the Marine Corps. So I did my first 3 months basics in Marines. I then went on to do a leadership course where I got rank and I took my own troops. So for the next 9 months I was on a leadership course in Simonstown. Yeah, once I got my rank, I was then drafted to the border. So I went up to Southwest Africa and Angola for 3-4 months, spent some time there and then came back to Richards Bay and spent the rest of my time in Richards Bay.
But were you on inland on the border in Angola or more on the coastline?
So we were inland, so we used to patrol as Marines because we were Navy. There were a lot of rivers that went through Angola and Southwest Africa, and we would patrol the rivers, making sure that the SWAPO and the Angolan, if you call it what we call terrorists at that time, wouldn't cross the rivers into our territory.
Yeah, which was Namibia. Oh, at that time it was part of South Africa, right?
That's
Northwest.
Correct. That's correct.
Yeah, okay, I get you.
If you'd like to support this channel, check out my Patreon page in the description, or you can buy something from Vesica where I got these sunglasses using the link in my description. Cheers, stay unbuckled. Stay unbuckled. Stay unbuckled.
Life is hard, and life produces a lot of hard knocks. And it's through those hard knocks that you can either learn to grow or not grow. Some people get a hard knock and they go the really wrong way, or some people get a hard knock and they go another way. And I say it's not what happens to you, it's what you do about it.
Yeah.
And that's how I've grown and learned. I've had a few hard knocks in my life, and I've learned from them, and I've been humbled by them, and I've learned. Don't be an arrogant little idiot, because one day, you might not be that smart.
Yeah.
One day you might not have your health. One day you might not be so successful. So don't be a schmuck. That's what I've learned. And maybe be a little bit more humble and have more gratitude and treat people with more respect as I've gone through life. And I've learned that over a period, not just, hey, this is when it changed, when I moved to Australia. You grow and you learn. And unfortunately, some people never learn that lesson.
Yeah,
some
that's
people
true.
do.
Hearing about your ethics and how you want to stand in life, did you struggle when you were in the army in South Africa with the situation? Did you have opinion on the political situation at the time?
Look, I didn't, because, and it might sound like a cop-out, but that's what we grew up in. That's what we knew. You didn't. When I went into the army, I was fighting for my country. I saw them as terrorists, and I didn't look at anybody else's way. I was too young and naive to understand this isn't right. So when I was in the army, for sure, I never saw that.
Oh, okay.
I saw a completely different way.
Yeah.
And it took me time to realize this isn't right and this is not the way to behave.
Who were you fighting and why were they terrorists?
At that time, black people wanted to be part of the country and they wanted equal vote.
Yep.
So they wanted to be part of the system. Theoretically, they were excluded. Only whites could vote, blacks couldn't vote.
Yep.
They had to live in one area, we had to live in another area. And they saw this as totally immoral and wrong, which it was. So they were fighting the government at that stage for equal rights, for the right to vote, for the right to travel on the same bus or the same train. And what we were doing was saying, no, you don't have that right, because you don't have citizenship in this country. The only people that are citizens are white people. So they were fighting against us, and they took up arms against us.
Was this specifically the ANC, or was it other groups as well?
There was other groups as well. I mean, the ANC was one group. SWAPO, which was the Southwest African group, was another group. Cuba got involved in the fight and supported SWAPO.
Did they send people over?
They sent 10,000 Cubans across. They sent Cuban MiGs from Russia. We fought the Cubans in Angola. And funny enough, when I was in Cuba, I had met up with a Cuban that was in Angola at the exact same time I was there. And we sat and had a beer and talked about the time in Angola. And but there were a lot of different conflicts. And, you know, certain people have certain reasons for being there. You know, like Cuba and Russia had their reason for being there was fight against the West. It had nothing to do with the rights of South Africans.
Yeah.
So everybody's reason for being there was different.
Yeah.
And the same you see in wars today.
Yeah.
You know, America's reason for being in the Ukraine is very different than the Ukrainians. So everybody has their own selfish motivations. At the end of the day, oppressing people, bombing people, killing people,
Whichever
for
side you're
whatever
on. Right?
reason, is for me, is immorally wrong and not right.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't do it.
Do you ever feel regret or doing it when you were younger? Like,
Absolutely. If I had my time over, I would never go to the army and do what I did. Never.
because of all this travel that you've developed political opinions?
Travel definitely helps. You know, I've been into the West Bank and I've travelled into Ramallah and I've had dinner in Ramallah. I've been to Tunisia, I've been to Morocco, I've been in the heart of Israel, Tel Aviv, Caesarea, and I've seen these conflicts. And you know, it does change your perspective on people, and it gets you to see, you know, people's view from their view, because when you live in one place and you never leave one little town, you've got just one point of view, and that's that point of view you're brought up with.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you've never been anywhere or seen anybody or spoken to anybody with a different point of view, well, how can you have a different point of view? You can't.
Part of the reason why I want to keep traveling the world, you know, hopefully after I think I've seen 26 countries, but I don't think I've been in too many conflict zones apart from the Myanmar one, you know, and seen the point of view from the other side, not just from my side, because it's a very narrow view, like looking through horse blinkers when you're in one particular country.
And when you travel, you've got to be open-minded.
Yeah.
You know, if you travel with a closed mind, Neil, it doesn't matter how much you travel, you still won't see anybody's point of view because you'll see them as wrong. But when you travel with an open mind and you go to a place like Israel, for example, you can see, you have to be able to see both sides. You have to be able to see the Palestinian side and you have to be able to see the Israeli side. Because unfortunately, neither are wrong or neither are right. Mm-hmm. But if you spoke to either side, they would completely disagree with you.
Yeah.
But that's my perspective anyway. So.
Because you had to deal with both the Palestinians and the Israelis for your work, right?
Correct.
So you had to be that diplomatic person.
You know, I wasn't there to change things. I was there to understand and learn. And that's exactly what I did.
If you would like to see more of Philip, you can check out the other video where he talks about success, his career, family, how he views the world. Or you can listen to the full podcast on Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, and soon to be all other podcasting platforms. Enjoy, stay unbuckled.
Good luck with what you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
I think it's super impressive that you want to grow, you want to learn, and you want to get everybody else's opinions. A lot of people, you know, don't want feedback or they don't want to know what other people think. And I think it's very refreshing as a younger person that you want to learn and grow, because, you know, at the end of the time, this is what you're going to look back on.
Yeah.
And you're going to, every little interaction you have with somebody, you're going to learn a little bit more.
Yeah.
And you know, by the end of it, I think it's going to really benefit you. So, good luck from my side. I mean, I hope you really nail it. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.